the coin, which is not bad. Means he's gonna have some options in the early game. What are you mulliganing for if you're the priest in this matchup?
Bodies. You want bodies because the way the druid's going to beat you is if they have board early on, and actually mulligans everything in a way. And I like this. Only card that I might think about keeping would be Shrinkmeister.
Yeah,
just to have something to throw out on turns 1 or 2. His hand is actually super weak.
yeah.
He doesn't even have anything to play until coin turn 3, and by that time the druid might be able to ramp up. But
Actually, this is a pretty bad hand for the druid as well.
no wild
Double
growth
swipe,
start.
Savage Roar, Wrath, Keeper of the Grove. These are all not useful cards to play straight up.
Yeah, the strongest opening that a priest can have against druid and against most classes is Northshire Cleric into Blade Master Circle of Healing. That is one of the ways that a priest can run away with the game against a druid. But if a priest is passing turn for this many turns, sometimes you can get to a point where the druid is playing creatures that just are a little bit out of reach of some of the combos that priest can pull off. Pilot Shredder, tough to deal with. Druid of the Call, really tough to deal with. But we'll have to see, because Chakki does have some pretty fancy stuff going on.
One card that I've not seen from Chakki's Priest in the games we saw yesterday that I think is a little bit surprising is the Dark Cultist. Don't think we saw that in
a lot of priests are
any
cutting.
decks.
A lot of priests are cutting Dark Cultists, I think. This priest that Chakki has been playing around with, I talked about it a little bit yesterday, but he was calling it Mind Control Priest or something of that variation. He actually had a really high win rate with it when he was playing on his stream the other day, and he was joking about becoming he's like, oh, I'm going to become a priest player. And yeah, it didn't have Dark Cultists, and I've seen a couple other streamers playing around with no Dark Cultists, so this doesn't feel great. Keeper of the Grove to the face, 2 damage to the dome, but he needs a body on the board, or else he's going to fall behind, so...
Yeah, it's such a weak use of Keeper of the Grove. It's really disappointing. But again, what can Chakki even do? I mean, he can... Blade Master Coin Hero Power is probably his best bet to get a body on the board. Hawkeye. Interesting. I'm not sure about that.
No, I like that play. Because you have to deal with... If an Hawkeye is played on the board, you have to deal with it right then and there. And turn 5 is usually a big power play for Druids. It's usually a play where they either innervate out Ancient of Lore, play Sludge Belcher, Druid of the Claw, or Lotheb. Yeah, and those are the power plays. By playing this on turn 4, you're putting a body on the board and you're interrupting those big power plays from the Druid. You're forcing him to deal with that Arcanine Soul Priest now. Let's say he plays Lotheb. Next turn, Chakki could just pick the Lotheb and trade in the Arcanine Soul Priest, which you're trading up. You're using extra mana, but you're trading up in that scenario. Or Shadow Madness and throw it in. So you're basically 2 for 1-ing. So he's not going to be able to deal with it, but he sort of needs to put a body on the board. And if he's going to, Druid of the Claw would be the best one, because Sludge Belcher would get traded into.
Oh.
Charge mode.
Okay.
Best of both worlds. Puts a body on the board, and he deals with it.
Shadow Madness does clear the board. So that's an option.
Does he want to use it? Coin, Cabal Shadow Priest is also a play, but taking a weakened Keeper of the Grove is not the best. But Keeper of the Grove is usually the only Cabal Shadow Priest target that you can reliably steal against Druid.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that would change his mind is he does have Shrinkmeister. So he could take something like a Sludge Belcher, or even like a Druid of the Claw later on in the game with that combo.
Yeah, I think he definitely wants to save the Cabal for that sort of thing. I think Shadow Madness is probably the best of a bad bunch of plays here.
Yeah. Shadow Madness, throw out the Northshire Cleric. You have enough cards in your hand, so even if it gets dealt with the following turn, you're still okay with that. You keep the coin to be able to play a turn 7 Cabal Shadow Priest Shrinkmeister play, if you so choose.
That's a pretty great turn 6 pickup for hyped Toshly. We saw this in his Druid yesterday. It's probably the only player I've seen playing that card recently in tournaments, but it's certainly very popular. That 7 health is a good spot. It's not the greatest spot against Priest because it is susceptible to Shadow Word Death, but I guess it's another target for Shadow Word Death, so
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
Sylvanas given play here. There's not really anything else that he can do. It matches the toss lead pretty well.
Yep. He's looking at the reversing switch here.
Yeah, he could reversing switch and trade into the Sylvanas and basically make it even, which I would be perfectly okay with because then he can follow it up with Piloted Shredder. But if you piloted Shredders, Coin, Shrinkmeister, Cabal, Shadow Priest, the Dream.
Pilot Shredder is a pretty good pickup.
Pretty good.
Priest.
It's one of the best.
It's one of the best.
What the only other the best targets would be like a Twilight Drake, like a 10 health Twilight Drake. Druid of the Claw in top form is really great. Spectral Knight. Pilot Shredder though is definitely one of the best.
Yeah, he's gonna go for the reversing switch here. I think this is pretty safe because you just know your Sylvanas is gonna get traded into that Tosh lead.
Chakki is just churning in his boots right now. He knows that the priest plays are about to get real.
Now, Hype doesn't realize this, but if he had used the Whirling Blade spare part on the Pilot Shredder, he would have saved himself from the Cabal Shadow Priest play.
That's never something you think about. Yeah. Hyped is pretty disappointed. Hyped is a player that doesn't really show that much emotion. Even when he gets top decked to hell and back, Hyped never really is phased by much. He's a very emotionless player, very stoic.
Indeed, he is. Yeah, stony-faced, you could say.
Yeah.
Chakki's kind of the same as well, actually, just as that kind of always considerate face.
I think Dignitas has sort of whipped Chakki into shape a little bit, sort of toned him down. Because back in his mana grind days, he was a very controversial player. He was the guy that would spam emotes and spend all his mana on a turn that he has lethal, only using 2. But long gone are those days. He's
you say that, but
he sort of solidified himself as a household Hearthstone name.
Wow, the Savage War to kill the bombs.
Oh, and that actually works out quite nicely because none of his creatures die, and he's able to trade really evenly.
Oh, Vitality Totem.
I don't know how great that is.
It's not great in this matchup, but often Vitality Totem.
Yeah, there was that match at Seed Story Cup that was actually won because of a Vitality Totem.
Exactly. It's Vitality Totem keeps you alive in some pretty crucial matchups. In games like Hunter, it really can be a great thing to come off a Pilot and Shredder. It's not so good in this matchup, unless you can get Northshire out.
Well, even then, it wouldn't matter.
No, that's true because he heals face. Ugh. Don't see the card often enough to understand how it actually works. Obviously, not that impressed with Golden Vitality Totem either.
It looks very sad.
Yeah.
Very sad totem. Most of the totems are actually very sad or very angry. But this is a really awkward turn here. Swipe Hero Power cleans up everything. But if that's the case, then he really doesn't do anything else. The other option for him is to just swipe once and then play Druid of the Claw. Because it would fit Curve, he'd still be putting a body on the board as a threat. Because if he swipes in Hero Powers, he'd be floating a mana. Double Swipe is also an option if he wants to take out the Vitality Totem. So
that might actually be what he's looking at here. He can take out the Vitality Totem and then, swipe face. Yeah, so that's what he's going to do. Burn both his swipes here. That's probably one of the biggest Priest boards you'll see.
Yeah, Swipe isn't really going to have that much of a use. Usually use it as single target removal against Priest. Just because sometimes you don't even want to do 1 damage to a lot of the other creatures, so you'll use it as single target removal. Maybe you see a turn 3 Dark Cultist, you don't have a way to deal with it, so you use Swipe on it. But Chakki's still in a pretty decent position. He's got initiative on board, which is something that you want against a druid if you're the priest player. But Hyped has Ancient of Lore in his hand, which is pretty crucial.
Man, Recombobulator is the most disgusting card against Priest because it can steal stuff and then change it and not give it back, like Shadow Madness.
Yeah, he was running double Shadow Madness when I watched when he was playing a Priest deck on his stream the other day, but I'm not sure if he's running double Shadow Madness in this deck, and that would be the only time that that would be good. Second Shrinkmeister. I know he runs 2 Cabals. We did see 2 Cabals yesterday.
Yeah. He has lots of options here. I mean, he can play just about everything here, but what does he want to play? He wants to probably try and protect this Thaurissan if he can.
If he plays Shrinkmeister, he can play Shrinkmeister on the Ancient of Lore. Trade in, but he's not going to be able to kill the Loatheb.
I think Shrinkmeister and trade, and then Sludge Belcher is pretty okay.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you then heal the Thaurissan.
I would actually, I'm not sure if I would heal the Thaurissan. Probably, because you've seen both swipes. It's if you value the Thaurissan or the Injured Blade Master more, and I suppose you would value the Injured Blade Master more.
He's actually gonna Recombobulator the Thaurissan.
What? He
He
gets a Cabal Shadow Priest. He just made it weaker.
What?
Okay, he made it weaker, but he puts 3/2 body on the board, and this is actually the way you beat Druid. You flood the board. You make a bigger board than they can handle.
I don't know. I'm not a fan of that.
Well, I mean, what is the Druid gonna do? He Loatheb, so he locks him out of spells. The only damage that you can have from hand as a Druid player is, without you being able to use spells, is Druid of the Claw. Second Druid of the Claw. Basically, he just guaranteed himself a win by putting as much damage on the board as possible and playing Loatheb. Because if you think about it, if he Shrinkmeistered and then traded last turn, like, he would just put the Druid in the position where the Druid was dictating the pace of the board, since he wouldn't be able to kill the Loatheb. So this way, he almost guarantees himself a win. I don't see any way out of the situation for Hype.
Would you have would you have preferred a Recombobulator on the Blade Master?
I don't think so. Because the average attack for a 4-drop is actually less than 4.
Actually, no. I think the better play was Recombobulator the Loatheb, because you still get the Battle Cry, and then you change it to something else, and you get to keep the Thaurissan effect.
I think the most consistent...
You would have a 1-mana Shrinkmeister. That could be all important.
Yeah. I think the most consistent play there is to Cabal is to Recombobulate the 6-drop. Because 6-drop, you're not going to get much worse than 5. Because the average attack for a 6-drop is probably around 5. So anything else, he risks taking power off the board. And that's not something you want to do. You want to maximize it. He doesn't really care about the Thaurissan, because after that turn, he would only have 1 card left in his hand.
1-mana Shrinkmeister. So important. So, how does he get through here? He needs to... This 6 health in the Druid of the Claw is pretty annoying. If he'd picked up a second Cabal, that would have been definitely lethal.
Yeah. He can Shrinkmeister here and trade in a couple of his creatures and then try and go face. But
he's actually he's one off lethal, right?
Yeah. 1 off. Because he can't trade in. So... he can actually preserve his entire board here, but he won't do that much damage to face.
I think he is going to value the board here.
Yeah.
Yeah, using his 2 biggest minions. Okay. He's actually going to just trade away the whole board and then heal. I like that. It's very difficult to deal with for the Druid.
Can Force of Nature do it? I don't think so. He can he can Force of Nature Savage Roar, Whirling Blades on one of the Force of Nature on one of the treants to kill the Loatheb. Then use his face to attack into the Cabal Shadow Priest, and then he'd be at 6 health, and the only thing that'd be left on the board is a Injured Blade Master. So he can survive.
Can he not kill the? But yeah, I guess you could kill either the Blade Master or the Cabal.
Yeah. No, you can't kill the Blade Master.
Can you not?
No, I don't think you'd want to.
You can use your face on one of the treants and kill that.
He's gonna Whirling Blade one of the treants and kill the Loatheb. Oh wow, he is gonna kill that one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's either the injured Blade Master or the Cabal Shadow Priest. So he's alive, but he's in trouble.
Yeah, he's in a pretty tough spot right now. Blade in the Naru is not really what Chakki needs.
I think it's pretty good.
Not too bad. It puts a body on the board.
Yeah. You can make it a 3 attack, and then next turn you can make it a 5 attack. I think you have to go for it.
That dog agrees with you, TJ.
Yeah, it's a crazy dog.
Yeah, so he does have 7 power on the board here. Sylvanas isn't enough to do it. He can heal out of range and potentially survive.
I can't heal out of range.
He can heal. Yeah. Can he not?
Because next turn he'll just heal his face, and the light one will be at 5 attacks, so that's 9. He can heal up to 8. Hero power for 9. Can't do it.
Oh yeah.
Exactly. 9 damage. He has to Azure Drake into a Wrath. If he Azure Drakes into a Wrath, nope, he can't even do that then.
No, that doesn't work. I think that's it. He has the Azure Drake into a 3rd swipe.
Azure Drake into Sludge Belcher.
How many Sludge Belchers have we seen?
We've only seen 1 Sludge Belcher, I think. We've seen 1 Sludge Belcher from both players. 1 Sludge Belcher from each player, yeah. So I think that's his only out. Well, actually, yeah, if he heals Ancient of Lore, he loses because if he heals himself, then it automatically brings the Light Warden back up. Yeah, he's dead. Chakki does it. Takes the win with the Priest.
The initial win with Priest. So, yeah, Priest, great deck. It's going really well.
Wow. And what completely turned the tides of that game was actually the Shrinkmaster Cabal Shadow Priest on the Piloted Shredder. That takes the wind out of the sails of the Druid.
I think you'd appreciate that. So we see in the hands here, early Warstone Commander can be pretty useful to have that in your hand, because that's really the key piece of all these combinations in making this work for the Grim Patron Warriors. So just having that in hand to start with can be really useful. So we may see him keep that. Wrath can be pretty useful, I guess, if you throw it against things like Grim Patron. It does deal 3 damage. So Hyde will probably keep a hold of that and get rid of everything else. It's a really interesting matchup for the Warrior. It's not what I've seen. I can't confess to have seen a lot of Grim Patron Warrior. So I'm not. What is the double Death Spite's a bit clunky.
I like the double Deathbite. Deathbite is one of your most important cards. Deathbite and Grim Patron, I think, are the two staple cards in the deck, I would say. Warsong Commander as well. So he has all the pieces that he needs are there. The one thing that he has to hope is that Hyde doesn't have a good early hand, which Hyde does not have a good early hand. He's got combo already. No Innervate, no Wild Growth, no creatures to play until turn 6. Handful of spells. Not what he wants. Definitely not what he wants.
Swipe can be such a liability.
It's useless. You can use it to clear off a Frothing Berserker. That's it. Only used for swipe. Ow. I'm getting too excited.
You're a little bit too excited.
Hyped and Chakki. Woo! I'm sweating.
This is what happens when we've had you casting all day, and you're inside. You don't know what time of day it is. You're going through phases. You're going through a hyper phase right now.
Yeah.
Well, there's a golden Emperor Thorison in this deck.
Yeah.
Get a good look at that golden card.
Yeah. So while we're waiting for these guys to sort of get going with their plays, I just have a small story to tell. Last night I actually watched the new Backstreet Boys documentary. It's called "Show Me What You're Made Of." They did their 20-year anniversary tour, which was just an incredible thing. And then last night when I was sleeping, I was a little bit anxious because I knew I had to wake up early, and I actually had a dream. about myself and some popular personalities in the Hearthstone community, we actually formed a band, like the Backstreet Boys, and we went and toured the world.
I can't believe you're talking while we're watching some incredible Grim Patron play going on here. The Inner Fire and the Grim Patron with the Whirlwind from the Death Spite. There are 4 Grim Patrons on board right now.
Yeah. There's also, I thought the Backstreet Boys, my dream about me, Crip, Reynad, Frodan, and Lothar being the Hearthstone version of the Backstreet Boys in my dream last night was more exciting, but I guess you're right. Grim Patrons are pretty cool.
Pretty weird looking boy band here, to be honest. Grim Patrons.
Yeah. Grim Patrons, not really as good of a boy band.
I don't know, how are your dance moves?
Pretty good. And Crip, he played more of the Kevin figure, you know, the older Backstreet Boy. He was like the older brother. Crip was always there to lend us a helping hand and to, when our tempers got heated in our Hearthstone personality boy band, Crip was always there to keep us all in line. So I really appreciated him in my dream world.
All right. Well, what is Hype looking to do here? What can he do to really answer this?
I don't even know.
This is why you're just talking rubbish, isn't it?
Yeah.
You don't know what's going on.
I know what's going on. Big Sock Chakki is just has a really great hold in this game.
He can swipe here and he'll only leave 1 on the board.
I'll leave 2 on the board.
Really? Oh yeah, the one that's alive as well.
Yeah. But that's pretty dangerous because now he can Warsong Commander and Cruel Taskmaster one of them and just go ham. Or he can Cruel Taskmaster 2. But I think you want to put the Warsong Commander out there to start applying pressure. The other thing that he can do is Cruel Taskmaster 1 and develop Deathbite. So that's why he keeps 3 Grim Pages on the board, 1 being at 2 health and 1 being at full health. And he has a Deathbite next turn to really start ramping up with the Grim Patrons. But I like this. This is the play that I like the best because you're putting the most pressure on. Because look how much damage he's actually going to do this turn. He's going to, even his Cruel Taskmaster gets charged, so he's already putting Hyped at 12 health. This game is going to be over in like a turn.
This is crazy. The Grim Patron Warrior is actually a lot stronger than people maybe even thought. A lot of people wrote it off as a gimmick deck, as maybe something that wasn't viable in competitive formats. But we've seen Forsen and Chakki do really well with it, and a lot of players I've spoken to have said that it's actually a lot stronger than we gave it credit for.
I don't think this is a good game to sort of base that off of, because Hype's hand was actually just really bad. He didn't have anything to play besides Wrath until turn 6. Or Swipe, which is just really bad in this matchup. So that's actually going to be the victory for Chakki. So turn 7, already over. Chakki, 2-0 lead. And my dream story was actually took him half that game. So
yeah, we talked about your Backstreet Boys fantasy for
with the Freeze Mage.
We see Hogger in the Druid for Hype there. That's something you don't see too often. There was a period where Hogger was quite popular in Warrior, but it's not a card, as I say, you see too often. But you did mention, that does sound like, it sounds like the premise of a really, really terrible, like self-published horror film. Is you go to the shop, buy a bottle of Snapple, open the fact, and it's a fact about you. Or even worse, like if it was a horror film, be like, you will die tomorrow from the Snapple killer. That's how he gets you.
Yeah. So what you're saying is Snapple needs to hire me as part of their marketing team. You know what, Callum? I agree.
I thought of some really terrible Snapple movie ideas. That's all I'm saying. So Freeze Mage.
This is a really good hand for him because he's got a lot of draws. He's got Arcane Intellect, plus he has the Acolyte of Pain. So he's going to be able to draw quite a bit. Wrath is pretty good. You'd say, hey Chakki, why did you play Acolyte of Pain instead of Arcane Intellect? I think he played Acolyte of Pain. I'm trying to see into the mind of Chakki here because he wants to try and bait out the Shade hit here. He wants the Druid to sort of try and deny him a draw by throwing out the Shade into the Acolyte of Pain, which would allow him to trade into it with the Mad Scientist. So some people would say, well, you're playing Acolyte of Pain, you're only getting 1 draw out of it, that's not the best, but one, since he has Acolyte of Pain plus the coin, there's a chance that he'll overdraw with Acolyte of Pain if he plays it when he has a bigger hand. And 2, he wants to bait out that Shade.
We get to see another golden coin there for Chakki. All golden deck. Very important.
Yeah. He plays a lot. He plays
Fortunately,
a lot.
Double Wrath for Hype is going to be able to deal with this Acolyte, and in fact the Mad Scientist as well. I kind of like this. I don't think there aren't many targets in the deck for your spells like Wrath.
Yeah, that's true. It's going to be tougher for him to deal with Doomsayers. Speaking of.
Speaking of Doomsayer.
Yeah.
So it's Ice Block on the Secret there.
I actually like seeing the Doomsayer here.
Just straight up.
Yeah, you've seen both Wraths. Turn 6, he could Force of Nature and trade in with the Shade. He could also swipe and trade in with the Shade. Either way, the Shade's coming out of stealth if you play Doomsayer, more than likely. So after he Arcane Intellects here and sort of, well, I don't know. Doomsayer feels good, but now that he's drawn into Archmage Antonidas, having that coin is sort of like a free fireball. His decision here is basically, do I coin out Doomsayer, or do I turn that coin into a fireball later on? And he opts for door number 2.
That means he's going to see Hogger. And Hogger could help this board get out of control here, but I think Chakki has some ways to help with that little infestation problem.
I never thought I'd hear that. Hogger is going to make this board get out of control. I'm curious. I'm trying to think why Hogger is teched in here. The 6-drop slot is already really full. Emperor Thorson, Sylvanas, Force of Nature, and Druid. There's a lot of 6-drops already, and 6-drops can be really clunky. We saw in the last game, you get stuck with 6-drops in your hand, you might just lose against faster decks. Hogger is really great if it's not dealt with on the turn that it's played. 6 power represented on board is immediately is pretty decent for a 6-drop. It probably deals with Zoo pretty well, but I'm not sure what other purposes it serves.
Yeah, I think it's pretty nice anti-aggro tech.
Yeah.
I like it.
It's just so slow. 6 mana? Jeez.
I think you just had a bad experience with the tutorial, TJ. That's why you're biased against Hogger.
Yeah. Hogger actually beat me like 50 times. I can never figure out how to deal with that hero power.
Explosive Sheep and Doomsayer.
He's double dipping.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Guess it's gonna deal with these Hogger tokens, but you'd think Doomsayer would probably deal with them anyway. I don't know. I guess when else are you gonna get to use the Explosive Sheep, and he's just trying to give himself some extra insurance.
Yeah, he's basically using the Doomsayer as a heal, and using this Explosive Sheep as insurance for his Flame Strike. Because Flame Strike wouldn't clear the Shade by itself, but with an Explosive Sheep on the board, he could do 2 damage. He actually buys himself 2 turns to be able to safely use Flame Strike and reliably be able to take out the Shade. So this is solid play from Chakki.
I like it.
If you think about it, though,
Chakki.
It is nearly almost his only play, besides fireballing the Hogger, or using Arcane Intellect and risk not having anything else to play and maybe overdrawing.
Yeah. Alright, well the sheep goes down. You'll see another Hogger token come out, but it's going to be inconsequential. Can't coin the Flame Strike, but as you said, probably wants to save that coin for Antonidas.
I don't know. I think this is... You're not going to really find an opportunity. His hand is too full. He needs to be able to deal with the damage that's on the board now. He can't have his block popped that early. Lid Hoarder. See, his 6-drop slot is just so stacked. I'm sure he runs Thorson as well, plus Toshli and Hogger.
That's a lot of 6-drops.
Where does he find the mana? It's like he's pulling mana from nowhere.
This is one of those times where you sometimes do see players like this and you think, are they playing a 40-card deck? Have they found a way to play 40 cards and I just haven't realized it?
It's so greedy. So greedy. Come on, George.
Come on, George. Don't be greedy, George.
There's a possibility that he might have cut Thorson. I don't remember seeing it so far in the series, but...
Yeah. So what is Chakki looking at here?
Arcane Intellect.
Arcane Intellect. And then see where we go from there, I guess.
Actually, Fireball and Ping on the Dr. Boom might be Let's see. If he Arcane Intellects and doesn't draw into anything that prevents damage, will Savage Roar pop the block? He has 10, 11 damage on board, plus 10, so it'd be 21. Not quite. And he actually does have an... Oh, no, it's Ice Block up, so...
He's going to use Frostbolt Ice Lance to clear it instead of Fireball Ping.
Yeah. It's the same damage, just Frostbolt Ice Lance is actually harder... is a harder combo to pull off. It's less mana.
Is it no better for Antonidas, though?
Well, also, he wouldn't have had mana to play anything else at the end of that turn as well, because Fireball Ping is 6 mana. That would have been his whole turn. This way, he plays the Acolyte of Pain as well. So it's not quite as flexible having fireballs in your hand. It's a little bit more clunky, but just Fireball Pinging to avoid the 7 damage from the Doctor Boom is a pretty weak turn.
What do you think about the switch here on the Acolyte of Pain to deny the draw? That feels pretty good.
Yeah. Deny 1 draw.
Deny 2 draws. Potentially.
I think he would. I don't think he would ever get 3 draws from the Acolyte.
True, I get with the Loot Hoarder, I guess.
Yeah. He's trying to think, am I gonna need that reversing switch later on? But I don't think so. Also, what this does is make sure that one of this Boombot's damage is definitely gonna go face.
Chakki's not pleased with that, you can see.
Oh, he hero powered it. That's weird.
Yeah.
I would think he'd want to build up armor and put that extra damage on face with that second Boombot. It's really interesting. Every point of armor matters.
Oh, there's a Blizzard. So that's going to freeze the board. There's Frost Nova as well for delay. I kind of like Frost Nova here because then you can Arcane Intellect as well.
Yeah.
And you can ping off the Loot Hoarder. I think that's probably the best. Even though the sort of conventional wisdom is that you want to play your higher cost free spells before the lower cost if you can.
Draw, freeze, burn. You had Arcane Intellect first. I don't think there's any reason why you wouldn't. Oh,
There's
Frost
Fire
Nova
Blast.
Doomsayer. Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Top decked and wrecked. The one thing that Chakki's looking for though is Alexstrasza. He needs to draw into the Alexstrasza because otherwise he's not going to really have a way to sort of burst through. He can use Archmage Antonidas as a way. Oh wow, he can actually.
Yeah, you can kill this Doomsayer now with Swipe and Druid of the Claw.
I was thinking he could Force of Nature hero power. But
Well,
Swipe
that
Druid of
too.
the Claw would develop board better, and having Force of Nature in your hand to threaten block poppage might be the better answer. It's a really tough choice because how useful is Swipe? Swipe is useful in a situation where you're trying to play around Ice Barrier when you're trying to pop lethal, but it's not going to be valuable when you're trying to get a board. So I think in this situation, Force of Nature is holding on to Force of Nature is more important than holding on to Druid of the Claw and Swipe.
Yeah. Good to be able to deal with this Doomsayer, and I'm looking at this damage here. Oh, Flame Strike, God.
The tippity
Oh.
top.
I was just about to calculate how much damage Hyped got, but
Yeah.
I don't think there's any point in me calculating that anymore.
Yeah, Blizzard here. Blizzard and then a ping on the Toshli. Probably going to be the play. Because if he just Flame Strikes here, then there's a chance with the bombs doing a lot of damage that he can pop block. And this way, there's no way that he can pop the block this turn, even with... Oh! Barely! That's super fortunate. If that bomb had hit one more, and he could pop the block next turn, that'd be pretty disastrous for Chakki.
Oh, there's Thorison.
What the?
How is he running this many 6-drops? That's crazy.
I am flabbergasted.
How is he running this many 6-drops? That's insane.
Okay.
He puts himself on Savage Roar to pop the block.
Alright, so let's take stock of where we are right now. Chakki is actually... Ooh.
I think you still Flame Strike here. You Flame Strike ping.
I don't think so. I think you Archmage and Frost Nova.
Yeah, I guess we can build up the fireballs. That's
Yeah.
pretty good.
It's not only the fireballs, but it's also the 5 damage on board. Chances. Oh, not quite.
How much damage does he have?
He can do 12 damage, I think, is the maximum that he can do.
Yeah.
So he's in trouble. Because Chakki's just going to start chaining fireballs, I think. Next turn, Chakki can fireball, and hit face for 17 damage. Put him at 10, and then he'll have fireballs for the next turn. So we would be on an Ancient of War draw, and he also has Ice Block to buy himself another turn. So this is really, really dangerous for Hyped.
You can use the same technique as before with the swipe and the Druid of the Claw, but then the Druid of the Claw is just going to die to Flame Strike.
Yeah.
Which he has to know is a potential.
Yeah. There's a couple ways that he can go about it. He can put the Druid of the Claw in taunt form to block some of the damage. It would take 6 damage from the fireball from the next turn. But taking out the Archmage might be the better option here.
I think you just need to stop the fireball chain from coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he's going to do.
Yeah.
So Flame Strike is going to come down pretty much guaranteed. But Hyde can pop the block with combo. But then, what does he have left? This is looking pretty difficult.
This is actually going to take some thinking here if he wants to Flame Strike. Okay. No. Either way, I don't think there's a way that he can protect himself from getting his block popped. If he Flame Strike Ice Barriers here, it's going to leave Emperor Thaurissan on board. So yeah, either way, combo pops his block. Oh!
I think... it's such a dead draw.
Yeah, you can see Hyped. I said before he's not an emotional player, but you can see there the very subtle shaking of his head when he drew into that Big Game Hunter instead of Saboteur. Which is, he probably saw that 3-drop and he got a little bit excited. He's trying to think whether or not he needs to save this Big Game Hunter for Alexstrasza, but at this point, he just needs to put whatever he can on the board.
Yeah, but he's really not happy. He knows he's in a terrible position, which is so funny. It's one of those, Freeze Mage is just such a weird deck that you get your opponent to 11 health, you're at 29. Oh, but there's Alexstrasza.
Okay.
Oh, that's going to be so brutal if that comes down right now. Let's look at Hyped Space.
See, a subtle shaking of the head is all it gives. That's really rough. He's gonna have to force a nature here just to kill the Alexstrasza.
Exactly.
He's not dead, but it's looking very grim because Chakki can chain fireballs this turn, or actually Power Blast might even be the better choice.
Yeah, I like Power Blast.
Power Blast gives him a more flexible following turn. Yeah. Oh, God, that's... Wow, I saw the whites of Hyped's eyes. That was actually scary.
He's 1 mana off 1 damage, and 1 damage off being able to pop the block. Even if he wasn't worried about dying, he couldn't pop the block that turn.
Yeah. Power Blast. Easy Power Blast.
Yeah, and at that point, Hype knows this game is over.
Yeah.
Wow, Chakki gonna take a 3-0 victory over Hyped.
No. Wow. That's a little bit rough, but Hyped concedes. That's really impressive stuff. And I said the key to that series was Chakki taking game number 1 with the Priest.